love Simply Stylist. I spoke at it in Chicago, and I love it because it's a space to feel loved and inspired and motivated to create a life that you really love. I know that we all deserve that, and we all should love what we do, and that is what we preach at Simply Stylist. It also gives us a chance to learn from the very best and to pick their brains and to really see how they do what they do, to learn their craft, so that we can all go out and also work really hard and develop something that we really love. So I'm really excited to introduce our blogger panel. So will you guys come up here? Jen, Wendy, and Cara, why don't you join me on this comfy webcast? And Cara as well. Oh, I see you. Come on up, ladies. I kind of feel like we're on Ellen right now. Yes. A little bit. Just kind of feel a little Ellen-esque up here, you know. So while Cara makes her way down, we'll start with introductions. I want to give each of them a chance to introduce themselves. Not that they need an introduction. They're so successful at what they do. They really, truly are among the very, very best, and we're lucky to be here today to be able to learn from them. So we'll start with Cara. I'll give each of you a chance to go over and introduce yourself. But Cara Santana, she's an LA-based actress, currently starting season 2 of Salem. You also have Cara Disclothed, and you're also the co-founder of the Glam app. So Cara has a lot going on, safe to say. You're extremely busy. So welcome, Cara. What's the passion behind all of these projects?
Well, you know, I love to have a conversation with women about the things that we love. So fashion, beauty, and empowerment. That's really my inspiration behind the blog and the Glam app that we're going to get to talk about later on. So.
Thank you, Cara. And then go to Chae, who we also love from head to toe. More than 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I think that deserves a round of applause. Phenomenal. She also just celebrated 7 years of blogging, which is also incredible. So we're excited to hear your story. Tell us a little bit more about your blog.
Yeah, so my blog is all about, started with beauty. I started doing fashion a little bit more in the last 1.5 years or so, and it's just been incredible. I actually started as a blogger, and then I got into YouTube about less than a year after I started, and it's just crazy because it's like when we started, we didn't anticipate any of this. And what I tell people is, you know, just hit the ground running, because that's the best way to get there. I mean, there aren't really rules and there aren't really pathways, you just have to try.
And that is we'll get to that. That's the fascinating part, is that when a lot of you started, there weren't as many options. You guys said earlier it wasn't necessarily a viable option. It was kind of a hobby, and then it transformed into something that was really your career. So we'll definitely touch more on that, because we want to know the secrets to building that. But first I want to go to Wendy. Wendy's Lookbook. I had the privilege of meeting you in Chicago at Simply Stylist. A really incredible site. She's also a phenomenal storyteller in everything she does, from fashion to beauty. Also more than 1 million followers between all of your social media platforms.
Thank you so much. I have a fashion blog called Lookbook, and I have a cat I love. That's pretty much it. I started about in 2011, so a little bit over 4 years ago.
And it's incredible what you built in just those 4 short years. It does take a lot of time, as you guys I'm sure know, especially those of you who have a blog or a business, that it takes years, it takes time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of people here want to know, is how to get started. If you have an idea, how do you turn an idea into a reality, and then how do you make that reality profitable, right? Because we all want to make money on what we do and what we love. And I think you know, that was one of the first big questions is, if you have this great idea, how do you jump into it? How do you start? And any of you can chime in.
Actually, before blogging, I was actually a financial advisor for small businesses at Wells Fargo. So I actually looked at a lot of just statements and a lot of just business plans. And I always tell people this, like, give yourself a good 3 years. Because I think sometimes we rush it, or I'm very impatient myself, and I want to get there fast. But I think really realistically giving yourself a good amount of time, but still have set short-term and long-term goals, but not necessarily overwork or be burnt out by like year 1 when you haven't seen results. Because I think from my experience looking at business plans, it did take a lot of businesses 3 years to really establish themselves. Yeah, so don't rush it, but also don't like slack off. You know, yeah.
And I think too, how do you know when it's the right time to turn that passion into your profession? I know a lot of you here probably work full-time jobs and then do what you love on the side, and then it's always that tough decision, when do you know to leave, and then to turn what you're doing into that profession. So Jen, I don't know if you have any.
Well, I worked as a designer full-time at the same time that I was starting it, so I had already gotten my degree and was working in the field for about 3 years. So what I always tell people is not to not quit your day job, just do both. If you really, really have the passion for it, you'll put that extra effort in. You'll make sacrifices to make it work if you love it enough. And, you know, maybe it's like, not to say exactly what Alessandra said, but you know how she was like, maybe social life is one of the things that goes the quickest. But it's true. It's not like it's going to be forever. Once your business picks up, you might have a life again, but you do have to make a lot of sacrifices. But just do both. You know, if you have the energy, just, you know, find that time after work every single day, and then stock up things on the weekends, and then spread it out. Just have it all scheduled out, and that helps a lot.
I love that response, and I know a lot of what all three of you do is trying to lift your viewers up and to lift anyone who may be watching up. You know, you want to create a very safe place and a place where we can all feel loved and confident. And that's what I love about what all three of you do, because it's very evident. You know, when you go on any of your sites or you watch a video, it feels encouraging. It doesn't make you feel bad. You know, it really is an uplifting space. And, you know, for a lot of people who have a website or are trying to create something, you know, do you have any, is there any secret sauce, I suppose, in terms of really kind of gaining that personal relationship with your viewers and then also expanding that relationship?
I think one of the core foundational elements is being authentic. Because every person on this earth is a unique individual, and it's like when there's a huge sea of a bunch of bloggers nowadays, like what's going to make you stand out? And for me, I don't mind if somebody, for instance, for a fashion blog, if they dress differently than I want to dress. I connect with somebody who is authentically themselves. So I almost feel like it's less about being the person everybody wants to be. It's having that sense of like you-ness. I mean that's what you have. You know, you're yourself, and you can't emulate other people because people pick up on that. So if you're really comfortable with who you are and really connecting with that, I think that speaks volumes a lot more than words can say.
I think just to piggyback on what Jen's saying too, I think this is a very fine balance, but if you are at the right place, maybe just share something that's very true, that's true to you, that's very authentic, but a little bit more personal. For example, I've been going through this kind of like relationship thing, and I kept on Googling like women who giving me relationship advice. It was really bizarre, but then I was like, oh, maybe I can connect with someone online that's sharing their story, and then I can like, you know, like learn tidbits about that. So I started listening a lot to Taylor Swift, like, you know what I'm saying? But I hear Adele, oh my gosh. But those, and the reason why is that when they're telling their story, it's so authentic, and you feel the pain of what they're going through, and I think that can be very empowering on a blog platform and a YouTube blog platform as well. It's just being authentic and sharing your story, but really just kind of, I don't know, embracing other women, and hopefully we can all as a community rise above what emotional trauma or experience that we're going through.
I think that's really important to share a bit of your personal life, because as much as you're creating this beautiful space, whether it's fashion or beauty or lifestyle, you kind of have to throw in a little bit of your personal life so that you can connect your readers and your viewers and anyone watching your videos, because it allows them, you know, to know that they're just like you too. You know, a lot of the things that we feel and our experiences are similar. We do connect on that level, and that's what I really love about what you always do on your website. If someone is, you know, if they've got a website and maybe they've had it for a year or two, they've got a beauty company, but they're kind of in this lull, especially in such a saturated space. So what are some of the first steps to gain some momentum and to try to peak out of where you are?
I think if you only try to connect with people who are above you, a lot of times you might get ignored, because I mean, naturally that's the business, right? Everybody wants to work with somebody bigger than them. But I think you have to realize, like, anybody can be somebody in a year or two. You know, you can't just sweep somebody under the rug because they haven't made it already. So I think being very humble about your own business and where you stand, not getting big-headed about like, oh, look, I have this many followers and this person has that many followers. Like, don't make it a numbers game because that's always going to bring you down. Yeah, just connecting with people who are at a similar space, who are open-minded, is going to get you a lot further in the long run, even if it's not like obvious right now.
I think at the 1 year and 2 year mark, I think it's a really good reflection point. And I think the question that I always ask, especially immersion bloggers, is that, like, what's your brand? Like, if you can tell me exactly what your brand is, I think the vision is so much sharper, then you can actually go in a more long-term directional way. So I think that's a huge question. Branding is a huge question. And also, like, what's your why? Like, why are you doing what you're doing at a year? Like, what exactly does that mean to you? And I think, again, both of those pillars will help you just become more visionaries in developing your own brand.
And in developing that brand, a lot of times you have multiple facets, and especially with Cara, there's the acting facet, and you've got your website, and there's also the Glam app. What is the motivation behind each of those, and how do you kind of connect them all as well so that it still feels, even if it's a different project, it feels authentically you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key component in all three of those things is me. So making sure that everything I do is a reflection of who I am in the most authentic way is obviously the most important. I mean, as a little girl, I was always so inspired and compelled by transformation, whether it was what I wore, how I dressed, makeup, hair, being able to sort of have a conversation and let you know who I was at any given time strictly by the way I looked was a really exciting and empowering thing. And so naturally that progression, sort of turned into acting, and the older I got and the more I had knowledge of fashion and beauty, I was really inspired by that. The idea behind Cara Disclothed was really to have a conversation about fashion from my perspective, and an attainable one, because sometimes I feel like the fashion game, so to speak, is reserved for maybe a more elite audience. I think that there's sort of like there seems to be sort of like a connotation of elitism in the fashion world, but that's not true, because we all get dressed. We all are a reflection of the way we look, and we're all transformed by the way we dress. So I wanted to have a conversation about fashion with the people who are interested in the way I dress. And then the Glam app, which for those of you who don't know, is an on-demand beauty service in Los Angeles, and we've just launched in Orange County, and we'll be in New York, and then all around the country. It's on-demand, luxury, affordable beauty, so think Uber for hair, makeup, and nails. And the reason that was really important for me is because I wanted every woman everywhere to feel like they could have a luxury, affordable beauty service. And I think beauty has such a superficial connotation. But as women, when we feel like we look good, we are empowered. Empowered to take on the world, each other's challenges. We're more excited about life, and we feel our best. And so I really wanted to have that conversation with women. So all three of those things are very connected for me. Transformation, empowerment, and having a dialogue with the women around me about fashion and beauty. And so I think for me, making sure that all three of those things are connected to me in a really genuine and authentic way is what makes them worthwhile.
Love the empowerment piece of that, and I agree. It does. When we feel great, you do great things. Yep. And I especially love that, Jen, that you would also include a lot of that in your videos. You talk a lot about self-confidence and to make makeup about feeling beautiful and feeling great, as opposed to it just masking, whatever you might be trying to hide. Instead of it, it's really to uplift you and to make you feel great. How often do you incorporate that in your videos, and what was the motivation behind that?
I think that there's sort of an underlying message in most of my videos. It's so easy, especially with the tons and tons and tons of videos that are uploaded on YouTube every single day, to kind of get lost in people just like reviewing and swatching and talking about what's going to erase your wrinkles forever or something like that. But I think it's important to remember that we're still us under all of that junk. Not that it's junk, I love it so much. But I started this series on my channel. It's called Heart to Heart, and I basically was scared out of my pants the first time I uploaded this. But I put on zero makeup, didn't even like wash my hair, was still in my PJs, set up the camera, didn't even edit it, and I was like, hey guys, I had acne for 10 years and it really scarred me. You know, like emotionally but also physically, you know, I could just be like, hey look, there's hyperpigmentation on my face and this is what I look like, and I don't have lashes on, I don't have anything going on, I'm not a perfect person, and this is my story. And just to say that, I think people, I expected a lot of haters, but I was really shocked at, like, I think I cried for 3 days straight just reading the comments, because it was like, you know, people saying, oh my gosh, you know, I've been going through the same thing, and my family members were making fun of me, and my friends would say, like, are you not washing your face? And, like, I totally understand what you're going through. And it's like, that was so therapeutic for me, but just to know that it was therapeutic for them, it's like, I think that might have been the first time I realized how important it is to have a message behind what you do. Even if some of my videos are just like, oh, I'm reviewing my favorite products of the month, like, people know if I talk about skincare, I have that history, because I shared it. And it's like, even if people don't go searching through my videos for those specific videos, when it comes up unexpectedly, they remember. You know, they only have to watch it once to leave that impression. And for me, that kind of emotional impression is way more important than the number of views I get, or you know, what I can achieve in the future. I mean, my goal is to connect with people, and that comes from the heart, and I don't think that's something that can be replaced just by surface level, like looking perfect on camera every day.
It's a really beautiful story, and it breaks down a lot of barriers, I think, even to what Cara said. Like you said, a lot of elitism was associated with fashion and beauty, and the great part about blogging and with vlogging is that it does break down those barriers, and it allows us to feel more connected and more personal, and to know that we have a friend and a partner in all of this. I do want to talk a little bit about viral content. I know that that's not always the point, but everyone always wants to know, again, kind of the secret to creating these really popular videos. And I have to ask Wendy about this, because she has a video. I don't know if you guys have seen it. 30 million other people have seen it. So if you haven't, you should watch it. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. More than 30 million views, and it's 25 ways to wear a scarf. Also super helpful, because I know a lot of us have a million scarves at home and we don't know how to wear them. So it's great. How in the world do you get more than 30 million people to watch that?
You know, I think there's no formula for it almost. You know, I think you know a little bit. When we were filming 25 Ways, our main goal was to make it as informative and entertaining as possible. And how do we combine kind of the traditional YouTube tutorial elements to creating like a really fun, shareable video. I actually spent a few days looking at all of the scarf videos on YouTube at the time. I think the most was like 7 ways to wear scarves. My film partner was like, can you do 50? And I said, no. I used to 5, but maybe. And then we just started brainstorming, and they said, maybe we can do it in a brain bunch. Amazing, we'll just do that. And I remember when I was watching, when I was kind of researching the different videos, I remember that eye contact was really important. So I wanted to make sure that my eyes were actually looking straight into the camera. And I guess when I was, when we were rehearsing, we realized that with the camera was propped on top of the mirror or below the mirror, my eyesight was never actually to the camera, because I didn't actually need to see my neck to tie the scarf. So we were brainstorming, and I said, why don't we shoot it through a one-way mirror? So we actually built a one-way mirror, shot the whole thing blind. So the camera, in order for a one-way mirror to work, the other side has to be completely dark. So the camera was actually enclosed in complete dark space, and he didn't review any of the footage.
Oh, wow.
And I was just looking straight into the camera with the mirror in front of me. And most of the takes was actually one take. So if I messed up at anyone, we had to go over again and start at like, girl 2 or 3, and we'd go through the whole thing. So he shot it blind, we did a one take, and it was like, one of those miracles that everything just really flowed. He used a lot of, trig to like get you to look at certain things, because the angles have to be perfect. But the whole point was like, we really spent it as a passion project. We're like, we want to make this cool video, and all these elements have to be in place, and we spent a few days to weeks to actually make it, and yeah.
I think your next career is probably filmmaking or acting. One take, huh?
That is impressive. What kind of time do you put into each of your videos in terms of the planning process and then filming it?
I think that's an ongoing issue for our team, my fellow partner and I on YouTube. So I think the user appetite is very fast and very demanding, meaning that the more videos you upload, the more your channel will grow and your audience can actually be more attached and entertained. When we do a creative video, it can take anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. We did a stop motion video that took us 6 months. We released it, I think, in June, and there was a Christmas tree in the video. It's because it started actually in December, and we just didn't finish until June. Yeah. But I think the creative videos do take longer, but more kind of more personal videos, more casual videos. It just takes a few days for us to do.
And how often, and all three of you can check on this, but how often do you team up with other YouTubers or other bloggers, and how helpful is that to your brand, to your site?
Well, I try to do creative collaborations like every few months at least. For me, it's a little bit different because I'm not from LA. I moved here like 2 years ago from Kansas, so it's a very different experience. But I've met a lot of incredible people here, and I've found that, especially for YouTube, collaborations are they're kind of insane. I mean, for a few days, your numbers just skyrocket, and it's really amazing. Super, super, super helpful. It's one of the most helpful things that you can do if you're interested in doing YouTube. For sure, for sure.
And how do you go about meeting those people? If you want to do a collaboration and you see someone you really love, you're watching a video, or perhaps it's a vlog and it's not a video, and you're like, I really want to work with them, but you don't know them, and you haven't met them yet, do you just reach out? Do you send a message? What's the most efficient way?
Yeah, I think everything is so accessible nowadays with social media and on our blogs. You know, we have contact information, so I think it's so easy to reach out to people that inspire you or people that you're interested in working with, and reach out and give an idea. I mean, I know that collaborating for me is, I don't do a lot of it, but not because of lack of interest, just because of lack of time. But I mean, I'm always inspired by my friends they're doing amazing things virally and online, and I think making that time and carving out time to do that is super important. And it's so easy. Even if you can't, I mean, I see a lot of times people do these like sweepstakes where they're like, you're not actually collaborating with the person like shooting content, but you're connecting them on social media. Like, check here, now check out this person's page, and it's this whole long thing for the sweepstakes. And I'm like, what a smart idea, because you're driving traffic to everybody's site, you're engaging with viewers, and you're creating fun content all at the same time, but you're doing it independently. But you're collaborating, so it like really fills that void.
I think when I approach collaboration, I think the question I ask myself is like, what value can I add? So when I'm talking to another YouTuber or a blogger, it's like what can I bring to the table? And then how do we together make a better product or make a better post or make a better video than us separately? So I think adding value to me is like really important when I approach collaborations.
And have your relationships been really important and as well, in terms of obviously keeping the relationship you have with whoever you collaborated with, but then also when you're at events like this and we're meeting each other, to stay in touch and to continue collaborating, has that proved extremely beneficial?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of being a real person, you know, like, how do you make friends? Because friends will want to work with you. But at the same time, like, don't just use people, you know, like, be a friend. Be like, go to parties and talk to people and be a real person, and don't be like fake about it, because there's so many people who are just like, oh, I am giant network, and nobody actually cares, you know. But if you are a person who actually cares, you know, if you actually go to dinner with people and spend time with them, don't just be the person that's like, oh, we should get dinner sometime, and then you just like never put it in your calendar. Like, do it. Just hang out with people.
And a lot of that becomes part of your journey then as well. It becomes part of your story and the story that you create for yourselves. And we all have different paths that we're all going. And I know, each of you had a really different way that you gained your success and got to where you are today. Wendy, I love your story so much. If you don't mind talking about it a little bit, because it's so inspiring. If you don't know, Wendy grew up in the foster care system, and worked extremely hard into what she has become today. Worked quite a few jobs, I know, and then went to Berkeley, worked another job, and has now established this incredible site. And I just think it's great proof that we all have a different story, we all have different struggles, but when you are so passionate about something, you can create the life that you want. And I would just so love for you to tell her that story and to inspire everyone here.
My brother put his screenshot, and he's living with me, but it's okay. I grew up in foster care. I asked when I was 18, and at the time, I was applying to LUCs, and being over the court, she get like free not scholarship, but a stipend to apply. And I remember I was applying to LUCs, and there was one stage for the bottom left, and a friend of mine made fun of me and said, you should apply to Berkeley. I had no idea where Berkeley was, and I said, okay, whatever. I applied, and that was actually one of the only schools that accepted me. And Berkeley is on a semester program, and which means that they started in late August versus all the other schools started in late September. And in foster care, you actually have to leave your foster home at the age of 18. You actually can't stay later because there's someone else waiting to take your spot. My birthday is on August 28th, and in Cal's first day of school is August 28th. So I went to Berkeley not because I wanted an education, of course, but I really wanted a place to stay. And I needed just to live, and I went there for that. Berkeley changed my life. I'm a Cal Bear girl forever. Even a second chance that I don't think it's a title I would deserve. But I went to Cal. I went to Cal, and then afterwards, just graduated, worked at Wells Fargo for 5 years. Loved my clients, hated my job, and then one day decided to quit my job, and then did everything creative. I actually took acting classes too. I took a sewing class, acting class, writing class, singing class, did all of that, and then at the time, my very, very, very close friend asked, why don't you I'll film you, and then you just put yourself on YouTube. And I said, well, okay, and then I actually spent a few weeks researching YouTube. And I always loved fashion, never figured out a way to get into it. And I said, why don't we just do a fashion channel? And then, 4 years later, I'm sitting here with you.
Which is phenomenal. It's just such an inspiring story, and I love it. I love when you tell it because it really does prove that any of us can create something that we really want. And again, our stories are all going to be really different. And I know you didn't even wear makeup until 21, is what I think I read. And now you've got this beauty blog, and you're vlogging about it. I mean, what even made you love it so much when you started wearing it so late?
Oh, you know what? I always thought it was like, I just remember this feeling in high school where all those really super popular girls would have like the really bad tan lines right here, like the eyeliner, and I grew up where there were like 0 Asians. There was like no diversity. It was all white people, so nobody was there to teach me how to do makeup because I had an art background, and I actually studied art in college as a designer, and I was like, you know what, I need to get off my high horse and stop judging them for loving makeup. And it's not all about insecurity, because like, I love it, I love the paint, I'll try it on my face. And I just loved it. Like, I cannot tell you, I still get so excited. I have an embarrassing amount of makeup, but I still get so excited when I get a new lipstick, and I'm like, oh, this is like 8 of my other colors, but slightly different. It's something that I feel like was a hidden passion my whole life, but I never grew to, kind of get over my own stereotypes about beauty and fashion, because I was always the one who was like, you know what, if you're gonna like me, you're gonna like me for my personality, not like what I paint on my face. But then I feel like that's kind of what ended up happening, because like there's a million other girls that look like me, especially in LA, which is awesome. It's like the first time I've kind of really felt accepted in a community that's like so diverse. But I feel like me being from somewhere that was so different than everyone also helped. Because when you have to fight for being different, it kind of makes you have to form personality in a way, because you have to be accepted somehow. And that's something that I'm a big proponent of, is like whether I'm wearing no makeup or whether I'm wearing a full face makeup, or if I want to do like just my eye makeup and no face makeup, I'm still myself. So like what I always try to say is, you have to learn to connect with side of yourself. Like, whether you're looking scrubby and horrible, you can still be like, yeah, I'm okay with this. Like, this is me. I'm just scrubby today, that's fine. Or like, if you're super glammed up, like, being like, it's not that weird, it's okay, that's still me. I like eyeliner, you know, just, you take it off, you put it back on, it's still you. And if you can be just you at every stage, I think that you can become more confident overall and really express who you are on the inside without all of those other things getting in the way of making you self-conscious or kind of manipulating how you would act in front of certain people. You're just who you are.
And that goes back to being authentic, and then authenticity, and that's what really drives success. We are getting down to the last couple of minutes. I could keep going on forever, but I do want to open it up to you guys if anyone has a question who I saw firsthand raised.
From a business perspective, how far into your journeys did you start either incorporating or forming LLCs, or how did that process sort of work from turning it from a hobby to a business venture?
It was like a year for me. The first year of blogging and YouTubing, there was no focus on monetization. It was all content focused. So we wanted to build those two pillars based on quality and creativity, and we just poured every energy into making that happen first. So we upgraded our equipment. We wanted to make sure that we shot the best cameras possible, mainly because we really wanted to have that, like, just that fine quality part of the blog DNA.
How do you make money on your blogs? I mean, I know there's ad spaces, there's partnerships to promote clothing lines. What are the different ways that you've found successful to monetize your businesses?
Sure, I'll take it. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. You can partner with different fashion lines or brands where you collaborate in a sense, and that's how you make money. There's also companies like Reward Style, which is really great, where when you're talking about a piece of clothing online, you can link through their company and get a percentage of all sales made through that site. So there's a lot of different ways to sort of monetize. I mean, there's also like Instagram paid for posts and things of that nature where you're sponsored to wear a certain item of clothing. So there's lots of really creative ways to sort of go about monetizing your blog.
And how do you decide who you're going to partner with? I mean, obviously you make sure it's within your style.
Yeah,
you still want to remain true to your viewers.
Yeah, I think we've reiterated over and over authenticity. So I think definitely you want to partner with a brand that makes sense for you, that is within your sensibility, and also brands that are exciting or interesting or inspire you in a certain way or take you down a new path. I think you have to be open to sort of all sorts of collaborations and sort of what they bring to the table, and also make sure that they fit who you are and what your brand is.
You also want to be aware of what your brand message is and who your audience is. Because if you know, oh, my audience would like this brand but not this brand, it's something to keep in mind if a brand approaches you and you're like, like maybe I would use that, but my brand, it doesn't fit. Just being aware of what you're projecting.
A little bit of the power of saying no. Sometimes saying no is good. Yeah.
I have a question. Wendy, you were talking about and you guys are all talking about your brands and making sure when you blog that you're really focused on your brand. But how do you keep coming up with content if it's very streamlined, just about fashion? Or are you allowed neighbor portraits or to break off and still do other side blogging projects, if that makes sense?
Well, I think branding is very like helicopter term. It's almost like a bird's eye view of who you're projecting and what message you're sending out. So for me, my brand is the city girl. I'm incredibly inspired by the city. I love street noises. So for me, it's like, what will she wear? And that can be anything. I mean, it can be a city girl in Paris who wears something different than a city girl in LA or in Hawaii even. So I think it's just branding is more about how do you view your message, but still have consistent kind of core DNA everywhere you go that was injected into that project.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I mean, I think there's natural evolution in life, and that goes for style as well. I mean, fashion is ever changing. There's new trends. There's, so you pay attention to those things, and as long as you know who you are and what you're trying to say, the evolution is sort of organic in that sense. So you can create new and fresh content just based on the trends of fashion and beauty that are ever changing.
We'll squeeze in one more question. You're at the end.
Yeah, question for you, Cara.
Yeah.
I'm launching an app myself, and I'm just wondering what avenues you found to be the most successful for promoting that type of product.
It's such a full question. I mean, there's so many aspects to launching an app. I mean, I don't know what exactly your app is or what it's marketed to, but I think it's super important to make sure that you have a team around you, PR, marketing, so that you're not going to be able to do it all on your own. It's such a large undertaking. So I think you have to focus and be aware of what works in the community and in whatever aspect your app is in, and get in touch with the people that really, that the app, whatever it's geared toward, what am I trying to say? You need to get in contact with the people who are capable and understand whatever it is you're trying to put out there. You know, the best apps are ones that are solving problems. You know, you have a problem and here's the solution. This is the app. So whatever you're trying to do, you need to be in contact with the people who are also doing that and the people who are going to use it, and that's how you're going to be able to sort of market that, whether it's via social media, advertising, whatever that is. I know that was pretty inarticulate, but we can talk later. Because it's such a full body, question. There's not really one direction, and without knowing what exactly the app is, it's hard to sort of navigate you in the right direction. So find me after. Okay.
Exactly. Track them down after if you've got more questions, because I'm sure everyone has a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for watching, and so glad that you're here. You could just take a moment and subscribe to our channel. You can do it by clicking here, over here, over here, or wherever that subscribe button is. Just click it. You'll get everything directly sent to you, first to know of all things Simply Stylist. Thank you so much, and if you don't, this dog is coming after you.